Imagine walking into a house filled with laughter, wealth, and privilege, only for all eyes to suddenly turn cold as if you don't belong. That's exactly what happened to Maya, a black woman who married into one of the richest families in town. At first, she thought love had conquered everything. But on the day she thought she was accepted as family, she was humiliated so brutally that even strangers in the room gasped. What this billionaire family didn't know, however, was that Maya had a strength and a secret that would one day leave them speechless. And when she finally returned, she came back not as their daughter-in-law, but as the owner of everything they thought could never belong to her. Before we dive in deep, comment below where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe if you love powerful stories like this. Maya was a woman of grace, kindness, and ambition. She wasn't born into money. Her parents were hardworking teachers who gave her values, not wealth. When she met Daniel, the son of the wealthy Montgomery family, she believed in love above status. Daniel loved her too. At least, that's what she thought. But his family, they never hid their disdain. To them, Maya wasn't just outsider poor. No, in their eyes, she was the wrong color, the wrong background, and the wrong story. Still, Maya tried. She dressed the way they liked, she carried herself with elegance, she even hid her pain when their words cut deep. She thought that if she showed enough respect, enough love, they would eventually see her worth. But the more she tried, the more cruel they became. The Montgomery family's mansion was a palace of glass and gold, but behind those polished walls was poison. At dinners, Mrs. Montgomery would make sly remarks. "Oh, darling, I'm sure your family isn't used to eating this kind of food." At charity galas, Mr. Montgomery introduced her as our son's friend. Never wife. Never family. Always friend. Servants whispered about how the Montgomerys laughed behind Maya's back. And when Daniel wasn't around, his sister, Catherine, would corner Maya with venom in her words. "You'll never be one of us. You'll never belong." Maya endured it, hiding her tears at night. But the breaking point came during a family event that was supposed to be a celebration. It was the Montgomerys' grand anniversary ball, an event attended by politicians, celebrities, and every influential family in the city. Maya had picked out her dress carefully, a stunning black gown that Daniel once said made her look like a queen. She entered the ballroom at Daniel's side, hopeful that maybe tonight, things would be different. But as soon as she walked in, Catherine whispered something to her mother. Within moments, laughter spread across the room like wildfire. And then it happened. Mrs. Montgomery stood up, tapped her glass, and announced loudly, "Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the confusion tonight. Our dear Daniel brought company. But don't worry, she's not really family. Just a guest trying to fit in." Gasps filled the room. Daniel froze. Maya's heart shattered. But what shocked her wasn't just the public humiliation, it was Daniel's silence. He said nothing. Not a word. He lowered his gaze as if ashamed of her. That night, Maya left the mansion with tears streaming down her face, vowing never to return. But deep down, she also whispered to herself, one day, they will regret this. Months passed. Maya's marriage collapsed, with Daniel filing for divorce under his family's pressure. The Montgomerys celebrated, believing they had rid themselves of the woman they despised. But destiny has a way of turning tables. Because while the Montgomerys laughed, their empire was slowly crumbling. Mr. Montgomery's businesses were over-leveraged. Catherine's scandals started leaking into the press. Lawsuits piled up. But the family clung to their arrogance, believing their billions would always protect them. Then came the day of reckoning. At an auction house downtown, the Montgomerys arrived, dressed in their finest, expecting to outbid everyone and save their legacy. Their empire was on the line. One by one, their properties, companies, and estates were called up for sale. The Montgomerys sat confidently, raising their hands with smug smiles. But then, a mysterious bidder emerged. Silent. Confident. Unstoppable. Every time the Montgomerys bid, the mystery buyer went higher. The room buzzed with curiosity. Who was this stranger? Finally, the last property, the Montgomery mansion itself, was announced. The family leaned forward, determined to win. The bidding war was fierce. Tension crackled in the air. At last, the auctioneer slammed the gavel. Sold. To number 47. The crowd erupted in whispers. And then the bidder stood up. It was Maya. Elegant. Powerful. Radiant. The Montgomerys froze as if ghosts had entered the room. Maya smiled and said calmly, "I told you I'd be back." What they didn't know was that after leaving Daniel, Maya had built her own empire. Through hard work, intelligence, and alliances with powerful investors, she rose higher than anyone expected. And now, she owned everything they once used to humiliate her. The Montgomerys were forced to walk out of the mansion they once mocked her in, while Maya walked in as the rightful owner. Catherine, trembling, tried to speak. You can't do this." But Maya only looked at her with calm strength and replied, "You did this to yourself." As the press swarmed outside, cameras flashed, recording the downfall of the once proud Montgomery family. Headlines screamed the irony: billionaire family loses everything to black ex-daughter-in-law they once rejected. The very people who mocked Maya now bowed their heads in shame. And for once, justice wasn't a dream, it was reality. That night, Maya stood at the balcony of the mansion that had once been her prison of humiliation. But now, it was her throne. She wasn't just victorious because she owned their wealth. She was victorious because she proved her worth was never defined by their prejudice. Her story became a symbol. A story of how cruelty can never crush true strength. And how those who laugh at others' pain may one day weep before their power. Maya had the last word, not through anger, not through revenge, but through undeniable success. And to those who had ever been humiliated, she became a beacon of hope. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to comment where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another powerful story like this.